Hey everyone, Gary McCreadie here. We're back with part 2 of my conversation with Scott Pierson. In this one, we talk about how much today's consumers really know about HVAC, why proper load calculations are so important, and some tools that can help run a better business. We also get into the impact of private equity in the trade and how to keep quality work front and center. This is the HVAC Know-It-All podcast, and I'm your host, well, at least for the intro, Gary McCreadie.
This podcast is sponsored by Cool Air Products, Master, Cintas, and SupplyHouse.com. Go to the show notes and click on the links to check these guys out.
So do you think consumers today are more well-versed when it comes to HVAC? Because I remember, I don't know, I've been in this industry for 20 years. I think you've been in it for almost 30. It used to be that consumers didn't know anything about HVAC, right? You would ask them their favorite brand, they would say Honeywell. But now they seem to have access to understanding of components, understanding of technology, understanding of pricing, to your point. Are they more educated now in the repair versus replace decision-making than they used to be?
Yes, they are. I still encounter a lot of customers that think they know what they're talking about because they read a marketing blog online about how something works or should work. And they're completely wrong when they approach me about it. I've had people come to me and say, hey, listen, I need a mini split for my daughter's hair salon and it needs to be a 1 ton. I said, how do you know that? He's like, well, it's this many square feet. I'm like, okay, but does it have like big windows? Like, does the sun shine in? Is there hair dryers going all the time? How many people are in there? He's like, oh, yeah. I said, well, then it could be more than a 1 ton that you need, right? But then there's other customers that will have researched a brand and know the specifics of the brand and the specifics of the machine and how it operates and the different, maybe like when it comes to heat pumps, for example, the different grants that are out there and how they work. And they've done all this research and they come to me and say, yeah, I've done all this already. Can we look at brand XYZ and look at grant XYZ and try to pull this all together? And I might need a load calculation too. So can you do that for me? So there's customers like that are high level and they get it and they're great to work for. 100% great to work for. It's the customers that think they know what they're talking about but have no idea that are the worst because they have a thought in their head. And when you try to say, no, you're going down the right path, but there's still a lot of flaws in what you're telling me and we need to adjust those. And some of them don't get it. Some of them still say, yeah, I want the 12 ton or the 1 ton. This is what I want. And I'm like, well, I'm not putting a 1 ton in for you. So you're going to have to go find someone else that will, because I'm not doing it because it's the wrong thing to do. So yes, your answer is right, but there's still a lot of customers out there that do not know how to comprehend the information correctly. And they get it wrong when they ask you for a certain part or a certain brand of equipment or a certain application.
Yeah, I think diagnosing you don't have the skill or the full understanding of the attributes at play, it could be dangerous, right? Go too big, you're going to short cycle every single time. You go too small, you're going to not have any moisture removed from the building. So, I mean, you run the risk of some severe damage to a property, right? And am I saying that right?
Yeah, no, if you go too big, you are going to short cycle for sure. Going small. So this is where a load calculation comes in. So it's all relative to that. So when you say too big, it's relative to what the actual load is. If you go too big as opposed to the load, yes, you're going to short cycle. You go too small as opposed to the load, you're not going to cool and dehumidify effectively. So yeah, you're right.
I think that's important for consumers to understand. I do like the idea that you kind of listed off some things that consumers could do research on and ask for that might be great expectations for home service providers, but also great expectations for consumers to do research around. Load calcs, I think, are the big one, right? Unless you have that software and understanding of how to plug in the variables, you're not going to be able to truly diagnose or, size up equipment right. So that whole, legacy, thumb up against the building way of sizing up a 3-ton system, the building science has changed dramatically over the last 20 years. You got to account for that. So,
yeah. And I don't have the software to do it. I just hire someone. Cost me $200-300, and I give them either building drawings or I tell them the height of the home, the square footage of the home, how many windows, which way it faces, how much of the basement is exposed, approximate age of the windows, roof, doors, all that kind of stuff. And then it's all of that information is used and taken, and then the load calculation is spit out. We can't just say, like here where I live, there's a rule of thumb that every 1,000 square feet is 1 ton of cooling. And it really depends on a lot of different factors. You can't just say that. It has to be like, for instance, my home, my unit is oversized. I put it in 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, no, sorry, more than 10 years ago, almost 15 years ago, I put it in. And I wasn't really in tune with that kind of stuff back then because I hadn't started HVAC know-it-all and I hadn't dug into all the processes and all that kind of stuff. Now I know my unit is oversized because I hear it come on and bang off, and then come on and bang off. Or really, it should be running steadily on a hot day. It should be running steadily for hours through that day. So I'm getting the cool air to the places where it needs to go, and I'm dehumidifying at the same time instead of on for half an hour, off for 15 minutes, on for half an hour, off for 15 minutes. It's not good for the equipment either.
When I talk to my friends and family, the one thing that escapes them is the HVAC isn't just for hot air or cold air. The biggest component of it is to dehumidify the air so that you can actually regulate the air.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So you're talking and doing things with lots of different parties in the industry. And I think you've touched on it a little bit today, but you've had the ability to go and look at technology tools and business tools in the industry. If you were talking to a young entrepreneur that just got licensed, what would you suggest as, great tools to look at to run a better, more accurate, efficient business in HVAC for a small business owner?
Well, first of all, you need a good CRM tool, and that's dependent on what you're doing. Is it commercial? Is it residential? I mean, there's ones that are really good for residential. There's ones that are really good for commercial. Are you a small business? Are you going to scale? Do you want to scale that business? So a good CRM tool is very, very important because it minimizes paperwork. It keeps everything organized for you. All your quoting, all your invoicing, your scheduling, all that stuff is kept sort of in the one place. So that is first and foremost the thing that you should be looking at to organize yourself.
Do you have one that you prefer more than others?
Well, I use Jobber currently. I've used Jobber for the last 3 years. It's good for me because I'm just a one-man show. I don't know specifically for the commercial side. If you're trying to build something, if you're trying to scale and you're trying to create equipment lists and stuff like that, right now Jobber doesn't have the capability to do that. I'm hearing like the larger ones like Service Titan might be good for scaling and growing on the commercial side. But if you're doing residential and you're just sticking to resi stuff and you're not really doing a ton of commercial and you're not trying to create equipment lists and stuff like that, then Jobber, the House Call Pros of the world and stuff like that, those would be sufficient to get going and start off.
So I think you're saying is it really depends on the size and goals of the business.
Yes.
And if there's options, Service Titan for something that you want to scale into something large. And I know they have lots of integrations, which is cool.
Most of them have integrations with lots of different other apps and stuff, like a review process plugin where it's an integration where you integrate with a review type company. When you're done, that integration sends back to the customer, hey, thank you for your services. Now, can you review us? And then that review hopefully is a 5-star and it goes onto your Google ratings or whatever. So there's review companies out there that they'll integrate with all of them. Just there's a lot of cool things that these CRM tools have to offer.
That's cool. What other technologies are good right now? Are you doing anything with XOI or Blue On or any of the other mobile app functions?
So XOI and HVAC Know-It-All once worked together to kind of promote what they were doing. But I don't specifically work. I know what they do. I haven't spoken to them in a few years, so I don't know how they've advanced their business. But from when I worked with them, it was super cool because a younger technician could be on the site, and through the XOI platform, an older technician that with a lot of experience could be back at the office helping them through things, pushing, I guess, information to them. And at that time, I remember seeing a video and the technician back at the office could actually, if he was having trouble communicating, like, hey, go over that component there. But he could actually, if the technician on site was holding their phone and it was on the XOI platform, the technician back at the office could circle a component and then point to it and go, yeah, that component there, go over to that one. So it's not confusing. So I saw a lot of benefits to that to help the younger generation out trying to be better service technicians.
That's a cool one. That's a good conduit to kind of our opening topic of culture and generation gap. So, hey, I think we're running up on time. What is your, if you had to just name one big thing to leave either consumers or contractors or OEMs with, pick one and call it out. Your chance to tell the world.
So I've had many conversations about this, and this seems to be a bit of a hot topic these days. The big companies that go in and take over the smaller companies, like the private equity firms. It seems to be happening in almost every industry. And that's fine if somebody wants to buy out a company and invest in it to make money. It's a business. I get it. But the reports I'm hearing back from a lot of individuals that have been bought out or their company's been bought out by private equity is that the focus turns to selling, and the focus turns to not only selling but increasing prices of installs to force the consumer to buy a new system. And that new system is now put on a rental program, because on the rental program, it's like leasing a car or financing a car. It is cheap, it's affordable, it's attractive, but at the end of the day, they're paying 3 or 4 times the amount for that install at the end of that. And there's a lot of horror stories of when people aren't paying, there's liens and stuff on their home and all that kind of stuff. And some of the news magazines that have been out there have covered some of these practices. Now, I don't know. I'm not saying all PE companies are bad, but I'm saying from what I'm hearing, because I keep my ear to the ground, is that a lot of this has turned into less technical training and more sales training. And it's diminishing the value of what we do in the field. And here's my take on it. Sure, you can go into a home and try to sell some sort of IAQ item to make money, or a smart thermostat to make money, or whatever it might be in that case. But there's also an opportunity to understand the system better and to put some test tools all around it and say, hey, listen, you have really bad airflow, and I've diagnosed this, and here's a report I can show you from all these digital tools that we have now. We can fix this for you by doing this, this, and this. And now there's validity to it. And now it's not shady practice. Now we're actually selling an ethical, it is selling, but we're providing a solution, an ethical solution to an actual problem. And I think that more and more companies should be teaching their technicians how to go out and find legitimate issues on a job site rather than just blindly selling things that someone may not even need and then leave behind a glaring issue that's still in that building or in that home. And that's kind of my beef with it, just from keeping an ear to the ground and listening to conversations from Canada, the US, and it's all corners of the North America. I'm hearing the same thing.
So that's interesting. So I got a lot of good information out of what you just said. One of the things that resonates in my head, though, is that if you're teaching text a simple solution a customer, you're leaving behind potential opportunities that could have been,
Hmm.
one, a better relationship with that consumer, but two, just better quality work. Like if you're trying to sell a Chick-fil-A model, but you could have been selling a 5-star James Beard type experience at the same pricing, but potentially, more penetration to that customer. To me, that's leaving opportunity on the table, which seems contrary to the idea of what private equity is trying to do, right?
Yeah. And I mean, and when it comes down to the swap out of the machine, because that seems to be the main goal, it seems to be like, okay, you need a new combustion induced draft motor. That's going to be $2,500. And we're like, whoa, $2,500 for that little motor. And I think the tactic is to say, but yes, we can get you a whole new system for $89 a month or something like that. And then people are like, oh, a whole new system for 89. And then it's a tactic, and it works because people like that low monthly bill that they know is coming each month, and they budget for it and afford it. And now it's not even a thing anymore, just like a car lease or a car financing loan. So, but the thing is, we have an opportunity to replace the machine with the correct size. We have here, at least where I am, if you go into almost any home, the furnace is oversized. It's oversized probably by 30% in most cases. Like in my home, I've got an 80,000 BTU furnace. I could probably get away with something that's in this like 60 or 50. I know I could. And they're box swapping and they're putting in the same equipment that was already there. But if they changed the equipment to the correct size and just did that very inexpensive load calculation, and they knew how to do this and knew how to implement it and get it in motion, when they change that box over, that person's going to have a way better experience, more comfort, because now our airflow is better. We don't have as much static pressure in the duct because we're not trying to move too much air through it. And now the system runs for a long period of time. And that long period of time, the air has time to mix and flow and get to the nooks and crannies of the building, where before, when it was oversized, the centralized thermostat would go, yep, let's shut down, I'm satisfied. Where that slow approach to heating or cooling a home, that centralized thermostat will shut off like later than it would with the bigger equipment, and the home will feel more comfortable. And this has happened time and time again with people that do this the right way. So there's opportunity to do things the right way. And I think a lot of, especially residential shops, they're more about selling and making profit rather than about actually giving the homeowner, the customer, or client the right experience they deserve, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think you can find a good marriage of the both, right? You can make good money, but do quality
Of
work.
course you can.
Yeah.
Of course you
Do
can.
quality work, use real parts, do the things that matter, take care of people. It's not just a process; it's a people thing. So
Mhm.
awesome. Let's wrap it up. I want to thank you. Appreciate what you're doing. Keep doing it because we love being a part of it, and you've got a big influence over a lot of people in this industry. So keep it up, and appreciate you, man.
Thank you, Scott.
We'll see you.